Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times, a Prancing Pony podcast production. I'm the Man of the West, and it is time to start week 102, the last week of series 13 of today's Tolkien Times, with another Middle-earth Map Monday. Now, we spent a long time in Anorion, and then we made our way across the Anduin, looking at Caer Andros and Osgiliath, and spending time in North Ithilien, including a visit to the Window on the West. Today, we stay in North Ithilien and visit one of the most beautiful but often overlooked spots in the story, the Field of Cormallen. And let's arrive there the way that we do in the book, through the eyes of a waking Sam. When Sam awoke, he found that he was lying on some soft bed, but over him gently swayed wide beechen boughs, and through their young leaves sunlight glimmered, green and gold. All the air was full of a sweet, mingled scent. He remembered that smell, the fragrance of Ithilien. "Bless me," he mused, "how long have I been asleep?" For the scent had borne him back to the day when he had lit his little fire under the sunny bank, and for the moment all else between was out of waking memory. Indeed, he's not far from there at all. That little fire was lit upriver from here, probably 25 miles or so. Now, let's get more description of this place. When they were washed and clad and had eaten a light meal, the hobbits followed Gandalf. They stepped out of the beech grove in which they had lain and passed on to a long green lawn, glowing in sunshine, bordered by stately, dark-leaved trees laden with scarlet blossom. Behind them, they could hear the sound of falling water, and a stream ran down before them between flowering banks, until it came to a greenwood at the lawn's foot, and passed then on under an archway of trees, through which they saw the shimmer of water far away. As they came to the opening in the wood, they were surprised to see knights in bright mail and tall guards in silver and black standing there, who greeted them with honor and bowed before them. And then one blew a long trumpet, and they went on through the aisle of trees beside the singing stream. So they came to a wide green land, and beyond it was a broad river in a silver haze, out of which rose a long wooded isle, and many ships lay by its shores. That is a lovely visual description of this place. Right? They'd been in a grove of beech trees, then moved out onto a long green lawn. It was surrounded by trees the text says are dark-leaved, laden with scarlet blossom. Sounds like maybe a crepe myrtle of some kind, or maybe even a pomegranate tree. Up behind them, they're hearing the same stream, we're not told this quite yet, but it is, that runs down from the Window on the West many miles upstream. And that stream is now flowing between the banks that are covered in flowers. This is a gorgeous place, until it arrives in another wooded area at the end of that lawn. The stream then passes under the trees, and the hobbits can see the shimmer of water, which, as we will see, is the Anduin. After following the stream through those woods, they arrive on the field itself. And as much as I love the visual of the Knights of Minas Tirith, I want to keep focusing on the geography of the area, the trees, and most importantly, where we are on the map, as we get a very explicit clue coming up. They are now not just on a long green lawn. They come out to a wide green land, a much larger field now. And we see that on the other side of that wide green land is a broad river in a silver haze and a long wooded isle with ships on its shores. That is to say, the shores of the island, not the shores of this wide green land. And we'll see shortly that the river is, of course, the Anduin, and the island is, well, the only island of any size in the river south of Tol Brandir, and that's Caer Andros, which we visited here back in week 98. Now, the rest of this chapter is glorious, the whole thing. It is, after all, what Tolkien himself called the eucatastrophe of the entire story in the famous letter 131, writing, "The story reaches its end as a tale of hobbits in the celebration of victory in which the companions are reunited. In the scene where all the hosts of the West unite to do honor and praise to the two humble hobbits, Frodo and Sam, we reach the eucatastrophe of the whole romance. That is, the sudden joyous turn and fulfillment of hope, the opposite of tragedy that should be the hallmark of a fairy story of higher or lower tone, the resolution and justification of all that has gone before. It brought tears to my eyes to write it, and still moves me, and I cannot help believing that it is a supreme moment of its kind. And in letter 241 to his Aunt Jane Neve, we're looking at letter 234 to her tomorrow, he wrote, "I did not finish the first rough writing till 1949, when I remember blotting the pages, which now represent the welcome of Frodo and Sam on the field of Cormallen, with tears as I wrote." I love this, in part because he's writing this in 1962, 13 years after he shed those tears. Those of us who attended the Art of the Manuscript exhibit in Marquette back in 2022 actually got to see those tear-stained pages, which of course in turn brought tears to my eyes as well. But let's get back to the map and the description of the physical place. At last the glad day ended, and when the sun was gone, and the round moon rode slowly above the mists of Anduin and flickered through the fluttering leaves, Frodo and Sam sat under the whispering trees amid the fragrance of fair Ithilien. It's such a lovely place that Legolas is moved. "And I," said Legolas, "shall walk in the woods of this fair land, which is rest enough. In days to come, if my elven lord allows, some of our folk shall remove hither, and when we come, it shall be blessed for a while. For a while, a month, life, 100 years of men. But Anduin is near, and Anduin leads down to the sea." Indeed, he and his people will come here and make it a blessed land for a time, until he leaves with Gimli for Valinor. Now, after Legolas finishes singing, we are given the location of the field of Cormallen very clearly, if still somewhat confusingly. For the field of Cormallen, where the host was now encamped, was near to Henneth Anun, and the stream that flowed from its falls could be heard in the night as it rushed down through its rocky gate and passed through the flowery meads into the tides of Anduin by the Isle of Caer Andros. Now, we chatted last week about Henneth Anun and how the field of Cormallen isn't really that close unless 12 to 13 miles is considered near. But I suppose it is really the nearest familiar reference point other than Caer Andros, so it does help us situate this location clearly in North Ithilien. Folks, that wraps it up for this week's Middle-earth Map Monday. We will continue our time in Ithilien when we start Series 14 with a look at the southern part of this region, including the Eamon Arnen and the River Poros. A big thank you to those of you who support the TTT on Patreon. Your support gives me what I need to create these episodes. Thank you. If you're not yet supporting the show, please visit patreon.com/Tolkien Times. And then join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times as we continue in the revised letters on Tolkien Tuesday. You know the routine by now. Subscribe to the show in your podcast apps or here on YouTube, and be sure you're following @PrancingPonyPod on social media. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.